Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the UBC Learning Circle. I'd like to acknowledge that the Learning Circle is physically on the unceded ancestral land of the Musqueam people. And it's a beautiful, snowy day out here. Snowy at UBC, which is a rare thing. I live on Nuk Lele Prem, and which is Bowen Island, and we are totally full of snow. So today we have a very special learning circle, and it's always nice because things are kind of crazy at the end of the year.
Please enter the conference number followed by the pound key.
Someone's got a
Or
conference
press star
number.
to create a new conference.
So yes, the UBC Learning Circle, and many of us, you that have joined us before, know that the UBC Learning Circle is a weekly initiative that brings you things that you've asked for, things that matter to you and your communities. And it's always nice to have something healing at the end of the year. My name is Leah Walker, and I am the Associate Director for the Center for Excellence in Indigenous Health in Education, and I have the privilege of overseeing this program as well as a few other programs. Our usual host now is Miranda Kelly, and unfortunately she's at home sick with the flu, so I'm your host today. And we have today, also I just wanted to acknowledge, I'm buying time here, I just want you to know that, because Cease is going to come walking in the door again. So she's going to share with us all of these beautiful medicines, and I have to tell you, they look absolutely fantastic and crazy. Like, we've got bark here, and we've got all kinds of flowing things that I don't even know what they are. So she's going to explain what they are, and we're going to make some healing salves, and hopefully you will have time to maybe do this over the holidays or in the next week or so that you can gift to other people, which would be fantastic. I also like to invite all of you on webinar. We have quite a few people on webinar. It looks like we have about 54 on webinar, and I would like you to introduce yourself if you could, and then I will look through them and direct your questions to Cease. Those of you on video conference, you know where your mic is, and if you have a question, it's really good just to unmute your mic, and then we will find space in here for your questions and answers. Okay, so how many of you have seen Cease before? If you want to raise your hands and let me know if you've worked with Cease or seen any of her circles before. No one? No one's worked with Cease yet? Okay, no one. And online, I'm wondering if anyone has worked with Cease before. And the big question for you is, how many of you made salves before? Anyone made salves? If you also want to let me know if you've actually had, so yes, awesome. Someone in Malahat has worked with salves before. Oh, and Whiston too? Okay, so we've got some experience. Oh, and Ashcroft. Okay, we've got some serious experience, so you know what you're doing. So be gentle on Cease, because she knows a lot. She's an amazing medicine woman, and she can tell you all kinds of things about what she does. She's trying to go park her car right now, so that's why I'm stalling. But she'll be here in a flurry. And so I'll just tell you a little bit about Cease, and then maybe she'll just come in as if on cue. So Cease is a medicine woman, and she has a tea company that is called Raven and Hummingbird Tea. So if you look online for that, we ordered a whole bunch of tea from her to give as gifts. So I just went back home to Seabird Island, my home community, and I bought some of her teas, and they're amazing to give as gifts. They're so good. So if you don't have the ability to go pick medicines yourself, she does it, and they're amazing, like stinging nettle tea, all kinds of amazing tea. that she has and that she will send to you online if you order at Raven and Hummingbird Tea. And so we've got your hot plate on, Cease.
Excellent.
It's all ready to go. So Cease is from Hamilton.
Yes.
Did I say that right?
Yeah, Hamilton.
Hamilton, which is the North Shore area, and she's been doing medicine for a long time now, and she's just pulling a few things out. And welcome
Thank
to our
you.
place.
Hey, here I am.
And here she is.
And yeah,
And
lots
there
of
are
interesting
some
things.
people have made salves before.
Hi, everybody.
And we have quite a few people, about 54
Yes, yeah.
people on webinar
Sweet.
as well. So I will look at this periodically for questions.
Perfect.
And I'll stand here and stay warm.
Yeah, I know. It's the warmest spot in
The
here.
warmest spot. And there's water here, like whatever you need, just tell us what you need and we'll work around you.
Yeah, perfect. Well, welcome everybody, and I have brought a variety of things to show different stages of salve making and how to basically put together some nice gifts for the holidays. I also brought ones that are all jarred up that I made, and just like the image in the webinar advertisement, here's some that have been solidified, and here's different ingredients and systems of creating those fabulous salves. It was a little bit challenging right now to find some herbs, as you can imagine, because we got dumped with snow yesterday, and usually I try to pick some fresh things to bring in, and it was like, okay, that's not happening.
Yeah.
I do have dried things that I brought in with me, so amongst those, I brought some lovely lavender, and
Yeah, it's amazing. It's so gorgeous. Do you want me to
sure, you want
to open it?
Yeah, just
Okay.
tear that. And then, of course, fabulous calendula flowers, which are also known as the true marigold. She's gonna just stand there and sniff that for a while.
It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, and so here are some really
Oh, those are
beautiful calendula flowers that are very properly dried. And one of the really great things about calendula, you'll probably notice a lot of calendula lotions and salves out on the market, because calendula, even when you pick the flower and you touch it, you can feel the moisture coming out of it, the oils and even the liquids from the plant. And I find even just holding on to lavender flower or calendula flowers, I feel the softness of the oils just seeping through even in the dried herbs. So any of you interested in adding calendula to your garden, it's not only is it a great medicine to use, it's very generous. It continues to seed and drop many seeds, and then pretty soon you have a huge area that's just calendula flowers. And it's not only great for us, it's great for our favorite little creatures out there, the bees. Bees love this, and you want the bees to love it because they pollinate it, produce seeds, and the seeds, bring more flowers. It's the same with lavender.
And they like lavender too.
Yeah, and lavender's another one that, again, like you've just been
Smelling.
she's
I
been
know, I just
squishing
love
it, and
yeah.
so it's, I know it's kind of hard to tell on this screen, but lavender, they're tiny, tiny little tiny petals that they basically bloom in clumps. And again, bees love this one. You want the bees to love it because they pollinate it, and you get seeds, and they're dropping seeds, so you just continue to get bigger bunches of lavender when you're growing it. And I just went out and bought a big bag of it so that I could do this workshop and do a couple of other things this fall, because I don't actually have a huge patch of lavender myself, so I often have to purchase it, but I keep working on the little tiny lavender patch I have in my garden and hoping it eventually produces more.
I find that it actually, because I've got lavender, I grow so much of it, but I find that only if I massacre it does it actually it likes it better if you actually cut it back and
Yeah,
it grows better.
It likes to, and that's a really great thing too, because you can cut the flowers down and then
Yeah.
make lavender wands, and that's a whole other craft. But it's really worth looking into the fun things you can do with lavender. And I use lavender because it's healing for the skin. It smells good, and it's got good essential oils in there that add to everything. And I hope everybody can hear me. I feel funny when I actually see myself in there. Anyway, it's also because when you do even have just a little bit picking your flowers all the time, you're constantly promoting regeneration of growth. So yeah, they smell great, don't they?
Let me
We're all
just
gonna
check.
get
Someone
really
said they
sticky
had
inside.
sound gone here. Just let me check. Sound okay online. And someone just asked, where do you get those big batches of herbs?
Oh, I order it from a company called Golden Bough Herbs, and you can type in Golden Bough Botanicals online. You can basically you have to call in your order. They're kind of old school that way. I've tried a few times to use their online thing and it never works, but for things like calendula and lavender, I really try to go with them because I know I'm guaranteed a couple of big bags and I can afford it, and it just adds to the beauty of what your salves are going to be. Yeah, and so they're in Anna's Island. They basically just work on you either, if you're in the area, you can go pick them up, but they really encourage people to order it and have it delivered anyway. So shipping is the big way.
Just one moment, and I'm sorry to interrupt, Cease, just because we want to check the sound for the webinar participants. For some reason, they lost the sound, and so we're checking with sound. Okay, they have sound now. Awesome. Okay, let's
great.
keep going. Sorry.
Okay, so my next bag is a bunch of balsam fir boughs that I picked, and I'm gonna say proceed with caution when picking fir boughs, because some people are really sensitive to the essential oils in this, and they're very prickly, as you can imagine. They are just what they say. They're little needles, and I don't get affected by them, but I had a friend tell me that his partner, her hand swelled up, and it was quite horrific for her. So
Well, that means
proceed
you know
with
there's
caution.
lots of medicine in them.
A lot of medicine, that's what I said. Maybe she needed to release all that. But yeah, so you can see I had a couple of boughs that I found, and I mostly just shook them once they were dry. I just kind of shook them, and I use a leather glove. I use leather gloves, and I process them by taking the bough and just, going over it and putting it onto a big sheet, and then gathering that and putting it in a bag. So this is balsam fir that I actually picked up in the Nass Valley because I was out with a friend and we found a tree that had been fallen. So I was like, awesome, it's already been chopped and left here and it's fresh. So I often do that. I will just go and kind of glean what's on the land instead of going and chopping something off a live living organism, a tree or a plant. And I'm always looking for things that I can just pick and gather and take with me, right? And so this, speaking of things you glean, so this chunky mass of darkness is a very sticky mass of spruce pitch. So, and spruce pitch, it has a nice fragrance.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, and it's we would use this for healing, but for healing wounds. But the biggest thing for spruce pitch, you can make a salve unto itself with just the spruce pitch. And so taking that, and I have a little pot here to show how we're gonna do it. I'm gonna cook that up and heat it up because you want to melt all that pitch. But having said that, you don't want to just melt it and then try to filter it out because it'll harden like varnish as it cools, and it
right.
cools quickly. So all of a sudden you're like halfway through and and it's, you know, totally hardened. So I add different things like honey. I always save the stuff that gets really crystallized because I know I'm not going to use that anyway. And then, because it's just hard to get out of there, but I try to, I'll keep it over here where it's warm by there. And other things like, I have a bigger tub, but coconut oil, which hardens very nicely and it changes with the temperatures. I have olive oil. And that's the olive oil and the coconut oil are gonna be the main parts of this. And then I brought some, just to show it, some raw beeswax from my garden.
Wow.
Which is really cool. And it's, you know, so it's in its natural state. It hasn't been processed. I also have, beeswax pellets, they're called. They kind of look like beeswax confetti. And so yeah, these are all the things that kind of go into making these salves. This is one that I made this summer with people in Mount Currie because they saw the webinar and they were like, bring her up here. So I spent 2 different sessions, one in the summer and one in the fall. And we gathered herbs, we gathered stuff in the summer and saved it and added it to our salve mix this fall. And this was the jar I brought home, and it's a very nice mixture of things we found on the land predominantly. We found frog leaf and mullein flowers, yarrow flowers, red clover flowers, dandelion flowers, and this was our basic little, so frog leaf is also known as common plantain.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, did you want to try a little bit?
Yeah, I would. And this
My
is just
lovely
like a hand
assistant.
cream?
Yeah, it's just a salve. They're all salves. It's often easier to use your fingernail going the
Yeah.
other way.
Okay.
But see how it just,
I put too much on, but anyway.
yeah.
Oh, it feels good though. So is this olive oil, did you say?
Olive oil and coconut oil and just all the really great, those
Wow.
2 together I find work really well, and then adding beeswax, it just emulsifies it and gives it that nice.
So that's your big tub of coconut, right?
That's the big tub of
So
coconut.
look at this, everyone. I think probably buying it in bulk like this is way
Yeah.
less expensive because it's expensive for
It's
coconut
expensive,
oil,
yeah,
right?
and I try and find deals when I can of big containers. So this big tub has lasted me through quite a few different salves. And that's why I put it into this little jar because
Yeah.
I use it for cooking. I use it, you know, believe it or not, you can do this thing called teeth pulling, where it's not pulling your teeth, but it's you put a tiny bit in your mouth and you swish it in between your teeth and then spit it out, and it strengthens your teeth and your gums, and it gets rid of a lot of bacteria that might be happening in your mouth. So olive oil or coconut oil is, yeah, it's
Wow.
there's probably a million things I still don't know about coconut oil that I just keep
Wow.
learning, and
Wow. That's neat.
it's great. And so then I'm going to put these onto a little plate here because then it's easier to see. And these are cottonwood buds, and you pick these in the spring when the cottonwoods, you know, just before they go into full pollination, when everybody's like, oh, it's snowing and it's springtime. And a lot of people are allergic to the cottonwood buds because they're so fluffy, not so much of what the pollen is, but as the fluff content that's floating constantly in the air. And the cottonwood buds have a sticky residue all over them, and they're amazing. They're also known as balm of Gilead. And so if you see that in a health food store, you know that it's actually cottonwood buds. And so that's a really nice one. And it adds not only a nice fragrance to your salve, but it also adds a really great healing. Like I met some elders up in Lytton a couple of weeks ago, and one of them was just making cottonwood salve. And his cottonwood salve was amazing. And so, you know, as soon as you go from kind of regular temperature into super cold like we're experiencing here in Vancouver.
Yeah.
For like 2 days we'll have winter. I don't know, it's kind of sad for
A week. We might get
a week.
We might get a week.
It's embarrassing because I've lived in small communities where it's 40 below and you don't even see the stop signs anymore on the road, and I watched people in my neighborhood and I'm like, okay, whatever. You don't know how to drive, but that's, it's because you never see snow.
Yeah.
But you change that temperature and your skin starts to dry, you get little cuts and hangnails and your cuticles start to peel. It's like, and you put a tiny bit of cottonwood bud salve on it. It just changes everything. So, a mixture of all these things, the oils, the herbs, the pitch, the beeswax, all that combines and it's like a super healing environment. So I'm actually gonna...
Should we start something?
I'm gonna start something, yeah. And I have a couple of pots here. I just kind of bring my workshops from previous... I was gonna dump this and I was like, oh no, I should save it for this one. So people can, and so this is what the herbs look like, at the end of your work, and I see they're kind of articulating on the screen, but they're basically dried herbs with a ton of oil in them, and I just let them kind of drip into the pot after I ran them through this. It also helps to see that I just kind of go shopping in Superstore and other grocery stores to get mesh, wire mesh. I used to always use cheesecloth, and then I'm always throwing out this cheesecloth when I can just get a finer mesh grade of a strainer, a colander, and let it just drip out the rest, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna put this, I'm actually gonna just set it over here onto this because that's all salves. It actually smells very nice. I wish you could smell what we smell here. And so this has just a little bit of herbal oil in it. And please note, I'm using an enamel pot. Enamel pots are the best to use for doing your salves because they're non-metallic. The metal is encased in ceramic or enamel in this case.
Yeah.
I also use slow cookers, so people have to be careful when they come visit me. Is that stew? That is not stew. That is very saturated herbs in oil. And and so I'm gonna put some herbs in here. I'm gonna start cooking it, and I'm going to also do another pot that's partly done and start to add the ingredients. So you'll see how you start it and how you finish it because we have such a short window, right? Honestly, I leave my salves and my salve oil in the slow cooker overnight. Like 8 to 12 hours is not a bad thing to let it just sit and cook without a lid on. You don't want to have a lid because it's oils and you just want it to, you just want the steam to come out of what you're cooking. And then once you do that, then you want to get your enamel pot. I've tried doing this back into the slow cooker with the beeswax, and it just takes way too long. You're sitting there for hours waiting for the beeswax pellets to melt.
Okay.
So what I do is I use these enamel pots. Once I've cooked it, strained it, I then mix it into there. And that's one of the pots we have here, which I'll try to figure out how we can show you what it looks like in there.
So backing up here for a second then. So you're cooking things in the oil.
Yes, you're cooking herbs in the oil.
In the oil, okay.
And why you cook it in the oil is that the oil, and you can do this over time, like some people make salves a very slow process where they will take a big glass jar and they will put all their herbs in and saturate it with oil. You want to fill it like if you have this much herbs, you want to put this much oil. You really want to make sure it's not sticking out because if it's sticking out, mold will start to hit that and cover it. So doing that is fine, and keeping it in a window where the sun can shine through it and cook it up naturally. And this is a great thing to do in the summer, is to have your oils sitting in jars and have those flowers, especially like St. John's wort flowers and The reason I say St. John's wort flowers is that they're quite magical. They start out yellow, but once they've been sitting in oil for a few days even, the oil starts to turn red, like blood red. And that's because the fine little elements of the flower are actually very red, and when they dry, the flower turns red. And what is great about St. John's wort is that it's great for an ear oil, so you can make oils for your ear, for ear infections, and it's safe for babies, it's safe for at any age. And then the next thing you do is you can just keep it as an oil, or you can turn it into a salve. But you can, the great thing about making salves and healing oils for massage is it's kind of the same process.
Okay.
So you could actually make a giant batch of an herbal oil and keep half of it that you jar up in little glass jars for massage oil, and half of it that goes into the next stage, which is healing salves. So we have some oil already in there. I'm gonna start to throw.
So how much oil for people to know?
We normally don't put the oil in till after.
Okay.
And I'm doing this kind of a faster way, so you can do it on the stove. If you do it on the stove, it's 3 hours. If you do it in your slow cooker, it's 8 to 12 hours, however you feel. You can put it on, go to bed, wake up, unplug it, and let it cool down. If you're gonna do it on the stove and you have dried herbs, it'll be about 3 hours. If you do it, I'm trying to see if, there we go. So 3 hours for dried, 4 hours for fresh herbs, and the reason it's longer for fresh herbs is that the water, the moisture has to evaporate. Are people having trouble hearing?
No, it's
Okay.
good. So the question
Making sure.
here, people are asking, so right now we're putting this on,
Mm-hmm.
and they wouldn't put oil in there?
Not, well, we have it turned on, like to get started.
Yeah, to get started.
We just put it onto a hot element and there's
Yeah.
oil on there. That's why I'm a little bit,
Worried?
it's a little off my, you have
Schedule.
to,
Okay.
yeah. So let's start from the first step. You fill your pot up with your dried or fresh herbs, or a mixture of both.
Okay, and filled up?
You fill it up about halfway.
Okay, so
And then-
halfway pot.
Yeah, so halfway. I don't know if people can see on
That's
there.
about 2/3 way.
Yeah, I'm trying to see
Okay.
also on there if people
Yeah.
can see it. So if you can see this pot, no, you can't even see that pot.
So we can look, so this is a pot, and how many quarts is this pot?
It's,
This is 7 quarts or 6 liters.
yeah, so it's about this full. You want to put it about half full of your herbs, and then we're gonna put the oils in. There just happened to be a bit of oil in there, is what I was trying to
Okay.
explain.
Do you put it on high, or what temp do you put
You
it on?
start off, yeah. You start off on high, and as soon as the whole pot gets hot enough, you turn it down as low as possible. So
Okay.
I'm gonna start putting stuff in. These are dried yarrow.
Yarrow.
Okay, so we have dried yarrow. We
They're
have-
actually cooking.
Yeah, they are already. And I'm going to put some balsam fir in there.
Okay, so what are the properties of yarrow?
And yarrow has all kinds of healing properties for the skin. I use all parts of it. The root, I'll chew on fresh root for toothache. Yarrow flowers I drink as a tea for a lot of things to do with women's many cycles, whether they're the small leaves we use when women are young to give them for coming of age. No, not yet. And we give before they flower, you give it to women who are having trouble with their moon cycle, and the flowers you give to women on their menopausal time.
Oh.
And I'm actually just gonna say, let's turn this right off for a minute, just so it doesn't fry all that. It's kind of smoking in here, it's gonna get really cloudy.
Yeah, smoke alarm,
well,
that would be
anyway.
bad, that would be bad.
Yeah.
Okay, let's stop that.
So we'll
Hopefully
do
it
that for a
doesn't go off.
second, and then
Should we open the room?
you should probably open the room, and I'm gonna see if I can find a little cloth here, just so we can. This is why you would not, actually, I realized you have that turned on after I
hot.
started putting it in, and it's quite hot. I'm doing everything opposite of how I usually do it at home, so just have some patience with me today. I'm sorry if it's confusing. So we're gonna start from the beginning. we put our dried herbs and fresh herbs in here, and then I'm gonna take some of these beautiful calendula flowers and yeah.
They're frying.
They're frying.
Should I add some different oil
No,
so it doesn't cook?
no,
Okay.
no, it'll be fine. We're gonna do this so quickly it won't be too bad. It's just confusing if you put the oil in first, then you have to squish the herbs down. But if the herbs are in your pot and you're filling it, they start to absorb, and that's the reason for that process. And so here we go. Well, the good thing, it's a very amazing fragrant smell in here. And yeah, this is a basic one of, let me see what else I have in my bags. I think what happened.
So you just mix, there's no reason why you can't have like there's no reason why you can't have all these herbs together, like calendula and lavender and yarrow.
These all work very well together.
Okay.
And so for years I've tried different types of salves. I've also tried different types of oils, and I used to use nut oils, but now there's so many nut allergies with people that I don't use almond or walnut or anything. I use really simple oils that are hypoallergenic. So olive oil, coconut oil, and I just don't go beyond that. Just like leave it at that. It's like, don't mess with a good thing, right?
It looks like you put like a couple of cups of lavender,
Yeah.
a couple of cups of calendula, and if you do it towards the camera because it's being recorded,
There
and
it
you
is.
see. So it's got calendula, and it's probably got a cup of balsam fir.
Yeah, I think it has about half a cup. if
Half a
that.
cup of balsam
Yeah, I didn't
fir.
put- because balsam fir, the oils are already really pretty strong in there.
Yeah.
And, I just want to say, experiment with the things you know in your community that are healing for skin.
So yes, of course, that means everywhere would have a little bit of a different thing. Then
Yeah.
that would be really interesting. Like in Babine, it would be completely different, I would imagine.
And we all seem to have broadleaf or
Yeah.
common plantain.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
find fir boughs in many places, you find dandelions everywhere, but calendula and lavender, if you don't have it in your area, especially at this time of year, you'd have to order it.
Yeah.
So that's a
From
big
Golden Bough.
one. Golden Bough.
Golden Bough,
Botanicals.
Herbal Botanicals.
Now, going to start this one, and you guys are gonna love this. So I just took, I bought one of those strainers that you put in your sink to catch stuff, right? That's actually one of my filters because it fits properly over top of glass jars and stuff. So putting that aside, and I'm going to start heating up some of this pitch, just so you can see what that process is all about and how that works, because it's a lot easier when somebody shows you what they're doing than trying to, say, oh, I've done this before, or when I did this, nobody gave me instructions. I was just told to heat it, and I was like hopeful about it, and then I realized through trial and error, you have to add things to it. You can't just put this pitch in here. You need to add things like the coconut oil. So I have some coconut oil, so that when it actually heats up and I go to strain it, and again, you're gonna love this, I use things that you can find in your house. So I'll take a plain coffee filter and I'll put it into here, and when it's heated, then it's gonna catch all of that and it's gonna drip down into the container that I put it into, and it'll hold on to that. And then I just kind of crunch it up and let it dry. And if any of you are campers, which I imagine some of you are, take that with you camping and just use that as your fire starter next time. So works great.
That's great.
Repurpose, reuse, don't waste things, don't just throw it out,
Yeah.
Keep a little Ziploc bag of your little filters that you've been experimenting with, and so I'm also gonna.
Okay, so it looks like she's got like about a cup of pitch in here, so spruce pitch, and it's fantastic because it looks
Yeah.
like candy.
Yeah, and so
I
then
know.
I'm gonna add some coconut oil into there.
How much is that?
I'll
quarter
probably
cup?
put like as much as there is pitch
Okay.
in there, so
So
an
about
equal
an
amount.
equal amount pitch to an equal amount coconut oil or olive oil, right?
Mhm.
Doesn't matter.
I use the coconut oil because it will give it a nice paste texture at the end. It'll be like paste more than really drippy oil.
Should I put that on?
Yeah, you can put that on, and we can put that on low and we'll just let that start heating up so you can see how that's gonna start. I'm gonna add some of these cottonwood buds into there.
So she's adding about a cup, half a cup.
A little bit more, I'm just gonna
Keep going. Maybe a cup of cottonwood.
yeah, and so that's gonna go in there. And so now,
Okay, so here's her recipe so far. She's got about 2 cups of calendula, 2 cups of lavender, about a cup of cottonwood buds, and half a cup of balsam leaves, fir leaves.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, now this should use I was gonna
Can I,
use,
get a spoon so I can make sure this is on? Get the smoke, I'm worried about.
yeah, it's probably got a bit of oil on the bottom of the. There we go. Okay, yeah, it's getting smoky in here.
It's getting smoky in here, and we're always worried about, we don't know how sensitive the alarms are here.
Yeah, and of course my coconut oil is rock hard because it was in my car all night. I put it in there just to make sure that it was.
So
gonna
on
burn.
this stovetop, I don't know if you can hear it crackling and burning. This is so much fun. This is like science experiments. It's gonna blow up. It's not. But so what's fun about this is that, oh my gosh, what a fragrance. It's so amazing. The smell is amazing. But this is on 1, and it's actually really hot for 1, like on this little
hot plate.
This Salcon little stovetop hot plate.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was lucky, I got this little hot plate for like $60. They're often more expensive.
I
here.
saw them at London Drugs for cheaper, like for like $30 or something like
Really?
that recently.
I'm gonna go
Yeah. Okay, I think you have to put the camera on Carrie Ann just for a second so you can see what's happening here. Carrie Ann, I know you won't be able to see there, but Carrie Ann is actually trying to
standing.
be what's cool. It's
Standing with
hilarious.
flames over here. Yeah, so
Yeah. So
just because
much
it's so
fun.
rock hard, it's not coming out.
Yeah. Okay, so
So I'm
it's
gonna do this. I'm gonna put that on
in the big
camera.
pot.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
So I have put some lovely coconut oil in there.
So about a cup of coconut oil,
Yep. And then I'm gonna now do the
olive oil.
olive oil here.
Yeah.
And we'll just unscrew. So I'm just gonna really saturate that.
Oh my goodness, I want spruce bark. That
Spruce
is-
pitch?
Or
Doesn't it-
pitch.
doesn't it smell great?
Amazing, not spruce bark, spruce, it's so gorgeous.
Yeah, and that I will just actually end up making little things with, little jars for
Little
people.
jars of salt?
Well, I have little tins with me and I'll probably just put those in there. So can I do this properly without,
Yeah, so you put about, what, 2 cups or so of oil?
yeah, maybe a liter. This
Maybe
is
a liter.
3 liters.
Well, because it had oil in already, so you
Yeah.
probably put at least a liter, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to feel how, I can
How
put more
much?
in there. You can put more, you don't have to like be cheap with your oil. The thing is like especially with dried herbs, you should put more oils than less because.
So this is where the art is, everybody. The art is this. The art is that we're just guessing, but you have to be a really good cook. So if you look at this.
Yeah, so it's about I'd say there's actually close to 2 liters of oil I've just put in here. I've
Yeah,
dumped
so
it.
quite a bit.
And then I've got about a cup of that coconut oil in there. So now I'm gonna do this.
And
And
we're
this
probably-
is really,
It's really hot, isn't it?
it's really hot and it's making this place smell very fragrant. Also note that I'm using silicone spatulas. Please either use a wooden spoon or silicone spatula because they can handle the high heat. And the purpose of doing this is not just to melt it down, but it's to be able to filter out all the bark that's entrenched in all that sap, that pitch. And it's bubbling up, which is very good.
And so the question is in the big pot. So we've got 2 pots going, and the question of the big pot is, to clarify, would Cease not normally cook the herbs with oil in the beginning?
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Yeah, she would.
That's exactly what we're doing right
So
now.
what-
We're cooking the herbs in the oil.
Yeah,
There just was a little bit of oil left over from
yeah,
a salve I just made a couple of days ago, and so I
She
just
was
thought,
just-
why waste it?
Yeah.
Leave it in there.
yeah.
Whatever was in there, there was broadleaf and comfrey leaf and all the other things we have in here. So I just left it in there because it just goes with it and adds to that healing salve. So again, I try to not waste things, and it's a big part of what I do is try to really double up on things.
So, and what I'm noticing here is, so she's got this on high right now, and just until it gets
Just
hot.
till it heats up, yeah.
And then we are going to turn it right down so it's not like cooking forever.
Yeah, and then I'm just keeping this little jar of honey over here because it was crystallized, so I'm trying to get it to melt a little bit. And then I'm gonna put that in with our little spruce mixture here, because honey, believe it or not, honey is really a powerful antibacterial healer. And so I've seen people put it on cold sores and seen cold sores disappear. So
With honey.
with honey,
Oh,
yeah. So
wow.
I add honey to that spruce mix for healing and for texture. And there's a lot of bark in there. I don't know if we can kind of
Oh
show
yeah,
that.
if you can see that, look
Can
at
you
on
see
the
that?
camera. If you look at it, it's just like, we're gonna do a real close up higher, look at that.
So it's kind of bubbling and foaming, and
Yeah, there's lots of bark in there.
people can see
So
that.
they're big pieces of bark that haven't melted.
Yeah, and they're just working their way through there.
So it's just taking all the sap away, so we'll strain it.
And then we'll just let that keep going. And when the honey is melted down, I'm gonna dump that in there too, and then it'll get strained. So yeah, so now this would basically be cooking for 3 to 4 hours. So we're gonna let that cook, let that go, and heat up.
So 3 to 4 hours, that's
Yeah.
quite a long time.
It's
So your
very
kitchen will smell really nice.
Oh yeah.
Now, as you're cooking it then, you don't really want it to be bubbling then, you just want it to
You just want it to get hot enough that it starts to kind of bubble a little bit. The oil starts to do that thing that oil does when it's starting to get really hot.
Yeah,
And then you turn it all the way down to the lowest setting on your stove and let it just sit there and just keep going back and stirring it. And as I say with even mixing herbal teas, anything you do where you're making your teas and your salves and anything that's healing for you, you want to put your love into it and your good feelings and and have fun with it and enjoy it. And it's hard not to because
it's
you
fun.
can ask these ladies, it smells really
It's glorious.
delicious in here.
Yeah, it's really amazing.
And
Yeah.
I have a friend that actually eats my salve, and I'm like, don't eat it.
But you could.
He just takes spoonfuls and eats it, and I'm like, what are you doing? That's for your skin. And he's like, it just tastes so good. And I'm like, All right.
All right, sure.
It's that safe.
That's safe.
And my daughter used to like put it on and lick it off her skin when she was a baby. So she would find the jar and open it when she was a couple of years old and just lather it on and lick it off like a little cat. And I'd be like, well, at least I know what's in there because I made it.
For sure. Okay, so I've got a question from online. Listen to this. This is a good one. Do you have any balms for snoring? Yeah.
Balms for snoring.
Maybe kicking the person out of the bed.
Well,
No, I don't know. Is there?
well, I don't have a balm,
It's about your nose.
it's all about your nose,
right?
and then
So a menthol maybe, right?
menthol maybe,
Eucalyptus?
but this is, you might be surprised, this isn't even like an herb, but it's still a plant. Bamboo pillows. So my partner is a very, very expressive snorer.
That's one way of saying it.
Doesn't say that.
Okay.
I can't handle it. So that I saw these bamboo pillows and I just wanted one for my neck and I thought, well, I'll get him one too. And then the snoring almost completely, it didn't completely stop because he doesn't always sleep with it.
Yeah.
You have to use it. But I really noticed how it took it down several levels. So that's one thing. And it's all about, I think, the position of your head when you're sleeping, if you're on your side. Any way that your head is tilted, if it's not aligned fully when you're sleeping, that's where air gets trapped in your respiratory system. So as far as respiratory goes and cutting down clogged respiratory systems, drinking respiratory teas like mullein is a really great one, and what else? Like you were saying, the menthol and eucalyptus, and even the spruce pitch,
I don't
which
know
is
what
very
mullein is.
mullein is a
Mullein?
very soft, fuzzy plant. It looks a lot like nicotine tobacco in that it's very tall, has tiny little flowers, and the seeds look identical to tobacco. So often it's referred to as native tobacco in different cultures. It grows all throughout BC, especially in the Okanagan and around Merritt. It grows here. I went to the Nass Valley a couple of years ago, and when I was coming back, I noticed it through Quesnel, and it'll grow in rocky, hard places where there's not much soil, and it's a tall plant, and it has clumps. Like if you type in mullein, Mullien, type that into Wikipedia, you'll see photos of it, and has tiny little yellow flowers. The little yellow flowers are really great for ear infections and also great for skin. If I'm out in the forest and I see mullein and I have any wound cuts, I'll actually pick a couple of flowers and rub them right into my skin where I'm hurting, if my skin is dry, or if, I don't really get eczema anymore, but I used to. But because I'm making salves often, when I'm making it, I'm rubbing it all over my arms. And the one thing I do get a lot of is little cuts and wounds because I pick thorny fruits like rose hips and hawthorn berries at this time of year. So I'll end up leaving with really nice hands and coming back and I'm just rubbing salves all over my wounds and kind of laughing at myself for getting all that into my skin. But
do we have any questions
Yeah,
for
let's-
those on video conference? I do have something from online here, but I'm wondering if at this point, does anyone have any questions? Unmute your mic and please ask, and we'll continue on after we answer some questions.
well, I'll see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that Whiston? Did you have a question? Put the mic on.
Yeah.
There you go.
Hello,
Hi.
question here. I was just wondering how long do salves last?
Oh,
Like a cottonwood salve?
good question.
Well, it's a really great question. They have the potential to last a couple of years, and if people make a lot for themselves, which is hard to do because all your friends see them and want them, and then they generally, like a jar like this, even a big jar like this, will get used throughout the winter, right? If you make them in the summer or you make them and they go lasting into the next year. My advice, because it's an oil and beeswax based salve, that you want to put it into the fridge in hot weather so it doesn't melt and go rancid. And that's really your only hurdle with this, is that the heat is not really your friend after you've made the salve. So your best bet is, once you've made these salves, is to make sure you put them into a cool place to
And I noticed that these jars are dark, so probably a dark place too, right?
a dark place. Yeah, dark jars are best. They last longer. Then, like anything, they won't oxidize.
Yeah.
For these kinds of jars, I get them from different places, but you can always look on the bottom for a code, and this one has RP. RP is Richard's Packaging, so you can go online again to Richard's Packaging and mail order these jars. They come in different sizes, so I have these 2 sizes here, and they're kind of my favorite sizes, because then I have a small jar and a bigger jar that people will generally want to buy. And and then I can, when I'm at a craft fair, I can be like, these are 12, these are 20, and they are a lot easier to have people decide what they want to buy, right?
That's great.
Yeah.
I have a question here. Any more questions on video conference? Hi, Chika, for that question. That's great. Any balms for acne? Is someone's asking.
Yeah, that's a good one to ask. So, believe it or not, coconut oil even by itself is good. So any of the salves you do that have coconut oil in them and olive oil, again, the 2 reasons that I use these are, they're hypoallergenic, but they don't clog the pores. They open up the pores and let the healing happen. And a big part of acne is diet and the types of foods we eat. And it's not always greasy foods. Everybody's like, oh, it's always greasy foods. It's hormones.
Yeah.
And it's drinking teas that help flush your system and to help clean out your organs inside. Your skin is an organ. So whatever is going on outside could be happening inside your body. So a lot of times people with acne find they have digestive issues, they have stuff going on in their body that's bothering them, and it all goes back to that. So it's a really important thing to think of, is like how...
So this is bubbling now, hey?
Is it starting to bubble?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we will... Yeah, and we can really smell it. So now we're turning this goes from 1 to 10 and then max. So we're turning it down to 1, the lowest setting.
The lowest setting possible for that oil.
Yeah, and it's just gonna sit there and brew. And you would do one of these on the stove I only did it halfway because we're trying to tip things over and show it. But
yeah.
I often just, by the time I have the herbs and the oil in, it's almost at the
roof,
at the top. So it's usually about
so
an
you
inch
would
or
double
2.
this.
Yeah.
Okay, so that recipe that we just did, double it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or if you just have a small amount of
Okay.
jars, and you can see I use mason jars. I use these jars. It's fine.
Okay, so look at mason jars, they're clear.
Yeah.
Okay.
This one is a
It's not
devil's
dark,
club salve.
right. So what do you use for eczema?
This is what I use for
This one
eczema.
here, for
Eczema,
eczema.
psoriasis,
Yeah.
body aches, sunburn, and any kind of skin problems. I'd use it for all of that. I'd use it for cracked fingers and the cuticles that are constantly ripping, especially at this time of year. So any of you in northern communities probably know your hands just, it's like, you're always putting lotion on. The great thing about salves is that the oils really absorb into your skin, and it's the oils that carry the herbs into the many layers of your skin. And that's what's really amazing about it, is doing that, using those. And what else have we got here? I've got, we've got that pitch is looking really good, but this moved away, so I've got to keep that over there to keep it
Oh, I wonder if it's gonna get warm at all. I wonder if we need to cut it.
No, I'm gonna put it right up there and it'll
Okay.
heat up. It's where we can see it and it's warm, that whole area is warm. I mean, the whole room warmed up when
Yeah,
I
it sure
came
did,
in.
yeah.
So we'll just let that sit there because it's fine. The pitch is staying moist. I am actually gonna throw, just for good measure, a little bit of beeswax into the pitch. And because this beeswax in particular has some red pieces in there, and that is propolis. And propolis is another great healer. So I'm putting those in there to melt gently and to add to the medicine of what that's going to be, because when it gets spread onto somebody's chest, the pitch that I'm doing is going to become a little salve that will get rubbed on someone's chest to relieve chest infections, again, respiratory stuff. So this
So this one is really good
that's
for
why when I was
respiratory.
saying about the
This-
snoring, maybe the pitch salve would be good, the
Spruce
spruce
pitch.
pitch, because it will help to emanate that fragrance going into the respiratory system. So I was just about to say, this is a Devil's Club salve that I did this summer, and it's hard, you can kind of smell it if you really,
Yeah.
it's just that we have so many fragrances
Yeah.
going on in here today.
Yeah. So
and
is
so-
that just pure Devil's Club and oils?
So again, it's Devil's Club, olive oil,
Yeah.
coconut oil. I use vitamin E oil as a preservative, so it also is very healing. But vitamin E oil is amazing. It's an amazing healer unto itself, and then you add it to your salves, and it helps to act as a mild preservative, a natural preservative to the salves that you're doing, which helps them last longer. And then the Devil's Club salve is more of a body ache treatment. So if
Okay.
you have sore muscles, you have arthritis, you're just aching, this would even be good for people that are going through growth spurts, young people that are going through pain in their body, athletes that are really active, running. I mean, I'm not an athlete, but I walk the land a lot. I get sore feet and I get sore legs, because when I go out in the bush, I could be walking for a whole day and then I come back and it's like, I sit down. Now I have a little heart, it's like a health monitor on my phone. So one day I didn't even know I walked 10 kilometers. I was out for a few hours and I walked 10 kilometers. I was like, wow, no wonder I come home and I put my feet up.
Wow.
So when you come home after being out in the bush and you put your feet up, you have some Devil's Club salve and rub that on your feet and your legs, maybe your hands, because you work a lot with your hands, your elbows, anywhere you have pain in your joints for arthritis. And it's the bark that I use, so I dig up the roots without and you can use
Oh yeah, the long roots, because you showed us the roots last
Yeah.
time, right?
And you can use the roots because they don't have thorns on them, but if you're tough enough to get some of the stalk with the thorns, just use the back of a knife to knock the thorns off. And some people save them. They're medicinal too, but I have a hard time saving them when they're flying all over the place and you're getting rid of them. And so I just then would take the bark and peel it until I have a pot full. And again, the olive oil, the coconut oil, and the whole trick is letting it cook as long as you can. And so we cooked this for, I think, about 5 or 6 hours while we were doing stuff at the Mount Currie Center. And it just, the whole room smelled like Devil's Club. It was so wonderful. And any of you that know what it smells like, it's just got such a unique aroma, and it's such a powerful medicine. You could also use this, any of you that are doing spiritual work, would be your medicine to put on to keep away negativity and to protect your spirit. So everybody has a different use for it, right? And the more that you make salves, the more you find your kind of relationship with it grows, and you get to have fun with the way that you do it, right? So let's see, what are we gonna do next? I was
That's
gonna,
really neat. Well, you know what?
what time are we at?
What time? We are at 11:20.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, we can go for another 20, because we started a few minutes
Yeah.
late, then we can probably go for another 15 minutes.
How's that, is everybody good with that?
Yeah.
Thumbs up or thumbs down?
And
Yeah? Okay.
Nietzsche asked
All
how
right.
much, well, you've got so much
We're all like,
knowledge,
yeah.
so I'm just thinking, oh my goodness, like all of that knowledge. And I love how you talk about your relationship with the plant
Mhm.
and how it changes and becomes more informed. The more you use it, the more you.
Hmm. And it's interesting, like, so I do herbal tinctures, which are using either apple cider vinegar or glycerin and water. And so there are these elders in my community that they've told me the things they needed help with. So I've actually given them all the same tincture for a variety of different ailments, and they all come back to me and they're like, your tincture is intuitive. And I'm like, the herbs are intuitive, but thank you.
Yeah.
And it's really sweet because people start to realize, you know, the whole reason I have so much fun just continuing, it could be making teas, could be making salves, could be making tinctures, could just be talking about it, but having that relationship with medicines and knowing and understanding what your own culture's relationship is to them. And even this shirt, like I'm wearing this shirt that is Rematriate is a women's art collective that comprised of women from across Canada, and the whole shirt, the designs are all plants. That's why I was like, oh, I have to have one of those, because I just think about the beauty of herbs and how they inspire us in our art. You know, you see people that do tufting and beadwork and button blankets, everything. Like Indigenous art is always reflecting, you know, not just the animal spirits, but the plants and how they influence us. And no matter where I go, people have stories that they share with me about the plants in their community and what their grandmothers and aunties taught them, their uncles, and you know, and it's not just a woman thing. Like, women are very tuned to the plant spirits because they're the grandmothers. But it's so uplifting to meet people that have that really deep connection to the plants in their area. And even if they don't, but they have a passion and an interest, you know, it just grows. And this, even at one, is really smoldering. But our pitch is really active here. I'm gonna see if I can't get some of the
Honey in there.
yeah,
Right?
maybe it's not gonna happen today. You can see it's really solid, but I'm trying to melt it up there, soften it. I often would have a few burners going to heat things too, or have that sitting in a bowl of really hot water, boiling hot water, to get the honey to melt and get it in there. But we're working with a limited space. We created a kitchen here.
We've got some
we could.
hot water,
Oh,
and we
great.
can put it in a bowl if you want.
Sweet. If
All right,
you can
let's
make
do
it
that.
happen, let's do it. And
Okay.
while I finish this off.
All right, Karen, can you turn the kettle on?
And
So
I
I,
know
have
it's
a
not
couple
gonna-
of questions here.
Oh,
Are
sure.
you okay with that?
I'm really open to questions.
Okay. So how much vitamin E do you add to yourself?
So
It's expensive, right?
it's expensive.
It's totally
yeah.
expensive.
Like a small jar is going to cost you anywhere from $10 to $20.
Wow.
And another place that I get supplies, so you can get beeswax pellets and vitamin E oil in different sizes, and I go to Voyageur Soap and Candle Company, and that is located in Surrey, but it's actually really in Langley. It's like one side of the street is Surrey and the other side is Langley, so it's quite a ways out there.
Voyageur what?
Voyageur Soap and Candle Company.
And I bet you they do mail order, right?
And they all do mail order. You can order everything online. I have a lot of friends up in
Or-
Houset and other small communities that when they come to town, they're like, can you take us there? Because we've only ever looked online.
So vitamin E.
You can get vitamin E oil at a more of a wholesale cost. But when I see it on sale in Shoppers or other drugstores, I buy it because it's not going to go off. And then then I keep it for these occasions. So it doesn't have to be one kind of vitamin E oil that you use, but the higher the international units, which is what the IU means in vitamin E oil, you'll see 10,000 IUs or 8,000 IUs, but the higher it is, the better healing it has on your skin. And I just try to get the highest I can find whenever I'm out there. And but Voyageur Soap and Candle Company, you can get your beeswax. You can even order bulk containers like this of coconut oil and vitamin E. You can actually also order stuff like some people sell them large vats of St. John's wort oil, which once you've made another oil, you could mix some of your St. John's wort in. So even after this, I could take another oil that I've already made and say I just had it on stock, and once I strained that out, add it in there and then add my beeswax, right? And we're not gonna have time to show the beeswax part, but I'm gonna tell you that once we've strained this, the beeswax, because this is, what would you say this is about?
So cook for 3 hours.
Yeah, this is about a quart, so now it's worked out to about.
Oh, this is about 7 quarts. This
It's
whole
not
thing.
the whole thing, yeah, but it's half.
Yeah,
We've
so-
only made half of it, right?
So about 3 quarts.
Yeah, so it's about 3 quarts in here, so 4, 8, 12. So there's about 12 cups of oil in there, and we would put 2 full cups of beeswax into this once we've strained it out and made the just made it back to pure oil, because this is all chunky, has all the herbs in it, but we have to take that and strain it in using one of our colanders here, and then we put it back into here and then heat it up again and put the beeswax in there. So we would, because there's about 12 cups of oil in the end, we're gonna put 2 cups of beeswax, heat it up again and put them right into the jars, and it cools as you're working your way through it.
Cools, and then you pour it into your jars.
You wanna pour it hot.
Okay.
That's why we use glass jars. If you use plastic, it's gonna melt,
Yeah.
straight up.
Yeah.
Like
oil
this
doesn't
is a tough container that you can put different herbal things in, but this would be good for a lotion that is a cool product and stays cool. If you're doing salves that heat up, you're gonna use glass, because glass will not, it's not gonna melt. And again, you don't want your glasses to be cold when you do it. You want to keep it in a warm environment. Oh, sweet.
We're warming up the honey.
We're warming up the
Here we are.
honey, and it'll just kind of float around in there.
Okay, so we're clear on this step then.
Yeah.
So this is cooked for 3 hours. We're gonna pour it off and then add the beeswax, which is this, right?
Yeah,
A
beeswax.
couple of cups of that. So basically 1/6 of the oil that's there, right?
Yeah, you don't need a lot. If you want it really thick, you would add more.
Okay, so it's a
And-
thickener.
It's a thickener, and
Yeah.
it takes the oil and solidifies it. So I put this upside down. It's not draining out, right?
Right.
It makes it quite thick, and you don't have to go overboard on it. If you're making, and I've got these little tins here.
Oh, okay, so show these little tins off.
Show these little tins off. These you can also get at Voyageur Soap and Candle Company.
Okay.
You can get all these containers from there.
Oh, so this is a nice size for lip
yeah.
balm and stuff, right?
It's perfect for lip balms, yeah. So you can see that these are little tiny ones. And you have to be very patient when you're pouring into these. And
Okay.
I basically,
Tip them, right?
well, it's just trying to get them into the tiny containers. So I lay them out on a cookie sheet with paper towel, because you're gonna spill, it's gonna happen.
Yeah,
Unless you're like the most steady hand on the planet.
right.
And I'll pour this.
Do you directly from here, or do you use something else as an intermediary?
I use a
A
measuring cup.
a glass measuring cup,
Yeah.
probably.
Pyrex,
Yeah.
Pyrex,
Yeah.
always Pyrex.
Yeah, awesome, yeah.
Because they're heat resistant and they're easy to get. You can buy them anywhere.
Yeah,
Half the supplies I buy are in kitchen stores. I'm
Yeah.
always looking in kitchen stores for funnels, like metal funnels, and You know, so canning supplies, I go into canning supply stores all the time to buy things. But yeah, these little tins are great, and what's fabulous about them is if you're doing a ceremony and a giveaway and you want to give away a ton of nice herbal gifts, this becomes one of your greatest things. When I was traveling, I went to a couple of potlatches up north. I brought like a couple of bags like this with me, and so I just walked around handing them out to people that I knew and even people I didn't know, and they were like, oh wow, what is this? And I open it up and they have their own little tiny jar of salve, and it's very cost efficient, but it's also really something from your heart, you know, that people know that you've been out gathering this or growing it in your garden, you've been learning this stuff, so it becomes really a very heartfelt gift to give to people. And then, yeah, you know, then they have their little ointment for their lips or little cuticle stuff. And yeah, so what I was going to say about cuticle cream, using shea butter, which is this one here, because it's very, very thick. I'll give you some. Here you go. And rub that onto your cuticles. So take that.
Oh wow, this is
the
what
stuff.
shea butter is, hey?
This is pure shea butter.
Okay, because I've seen creams with it in, and I had no idea. It's super thick.
Yeah, it's like almost like a peanut butter paste,
Yes,
right? It's
I'm putting
really
peanut
thick.
butter on
She's
my
putting peanut butter on her.
cuticles. Oh my goodness.
But this is
Yeah.
like, you'll notice it for the rest of the day. You'll be like, oh my goodness, my
Well, I am
cuticles
really
feel so
dry.
good.
Really dry.
And so then if you're gonna make cuticle cream, then you would just do it with the beeswax and then also add some shea butter, pure shea butter. Another thing that when you go onto Voyager Soap and Candle Company, just go through their product list. They have tons of amazing stuff. And I like to tell people about that site because we're all kind of the DIY crew. We all like to make things ourselves. And they have recipes too. They'll send you recipes for any of these things that I'm sharing with you today. And that's really exciting because if you're, you know, especially way up north and you have a hard time getting out to go to workshops like this, you can only tap into these webinars. It's a really great thing to find a company that sells all these items and then also gives you a recipe guide to work with.
So Voyager has recipe guides. Will you be sending some of these recipes? Will we, for those that register?
I could if people, and have we shown my,
Raven and Hummingbird tea?
yep,
Yeah.
and you
So-
can email me at info@ravenandhummingbirdtea.com.
I already,
You already blasted it?
I blasted it because we just bought a whole bunch, we went to Seabird and so we gifted them with a gift package of your teas. right?
Amazing.
And,
Thank you.
yeah, so we just bought a whole bunch because it's such a nice gift
Yeah.
to give people something that's made from you.
Oh.
If you haven't done it yourself, at least it's from you and we know how it's been. So I have a couple more questions. I'm bending down here because it says, how much vitamin E did you add to the salve?
So there would, in the 3 quarts, I
Yeah.
would probably end up with a small bottle that might be about, I don't know, the size of a lip balm container, and I would put the whole thing in.
Okay.
So I think
So not
that's
very
probably
much.
about 2 ounces. You don't put very much, you don't need very much at all. So when you're ordering it, if you're gonna do a full bottle of this, I would put I think that's about 2 fluid ounces, so you would put 4 fluid ounces of it, so.
For a full pot?
Yeah.
4 for a full pot, okay. And do you have an ingredient that would replicate a warming agent for your salve? I guess if you're using it for, well, the Devil's Club, perhaps if you're using, or do you have, what would be a warming agent?
There's a number of things you can use, especially if some of you don't have fresh stinging nettle around. to
Right, I
rub
was
on
just
your-
thinking, but there's still some around.
But there is stuff,
Yeah.
we're on the Pacific Northwest coast, so
Yeah.
you don't be surprised where you find it.
Yeah.
We find it all on the coast here, and I find it in different communities I travel through. It likes marshy areas. And some people make stinging nettle salve, but I don't feel the effect. Like I feel like I have a tiny bit of arthritic pain in this elbow, so I just go and rub it on a stinging nettle every few months. That's actually all I need to do, just every few months. But I can't do that in the winter, and I've tried the salve and I don't feel the same effect. But there are things you can add in there. You could add cumin, which is it's an East Indian herb. It's something you mix in your curry. Cooking your chili and other sauces with that, it warms your whole body from the inside out. Turmeric is another good one for inflammation, and believe it or not, the Devil's Club. So Devil's Club, which you can pick it at this time of year for topical use. You don't ingest Devil's Club that you pick at this time of year. The reason being is it changes its properties. The frost will immediately change it, so you can't drink it up. You could put it as a salve and that's it. It's a really important thing to know, because different things grow all year round. It doesn't mean that you can pick them all the time. So really get to know the medicines in your neighborhood and your region. I'm trying to think of what else is really warming. I don't know. I think, the thing with these salves is that they all penetrate all kinds of inflammation. So I know that probably the reason somebody's asking that is for inflammation in the joints.
Capsicum maybe, right?
And capsicum
But that
oil,
would
yeah,
burn
but it's
maybe.
kind of burning.
Yeah.
But you could still add a bit of, capsicum is also known as cayenne, so cayenne pepper. You could add a tiny bit. You don't need to put much because it's a really powerful medicine.
Yeah.
Not just spice-wise, but it's known as a catalyst medicine. And why I refer to it that way is that catalysts create bigger changes, right? And so catalyst herbs will get into your body, and other herbs they're working with, they open up. And so I might put some Devil's Club on if I had some capsicum oil in there, or cayenne pepper oil. Yeah, I rub that in and it would go even deeper into my tendons and muscles and joints, and it would be even more healing. So the thing with healing herbs, it's not just about topical, it's about internal. And using herbs that help to cleanse and flush your body, as well as using these, that's my secret in life, is I do both. I love to drink my tea, and I love to rub salves all over my hands and my arms, and I just love it. It heals me inside and out. I'm penetrating both ways. I'm drinking the tea, so it's flushing it out. I'm putting the salves in, and it's coming in. So it's a double healing method, I guess. And it's really the secret to my best health. The days that I feel the best, because I'm still a human. I have bad days like everybody. I've dealt with fibromyalgia for years and had to fight all kinds of pains that just, and the fibromyalgia will subside and disappear for a couple of years, and all of a sudden I eat something and it's like I'm off for 3 days, and it's like, okay, what did I do wrong? Go through my, list of what did I eat the last 3 days? What changed? Why am I feeling like this? And it all comes back to, okay, stick to the healthier things. Don't eat trigger foods that create inflammation and pain. I'll often have a little bit of ginger, and there's wild ginger that grows in some of your areas, so that's a really good warming herb. But again, drink it as a tea, and you'll find that it goes right into those areas. Herbs are very intuitive, just like these elders in my community were like, those herbs are intuitive. And I'm like, exactly, they're totally intuitive. They know, I can drink a cup of tea and it does 10 things for me that it really work, and somebody else will drink it, but it'll just work on the one thing with them. So if you're dealing with blood pressure and heart palpitations or low heart rate, you're going to want to drink rosehip tea and hawthorn berries to alleviate your blood pressure and to strengthen your heart. Somebody else could drink that and they don't have those issues, but they have high cholesterol. It's going to lower their cholesterol, the bad cholesterol, right? Of course, eating salmon is the best way to fight all kinds of cholesterol.
And we have salmon.
We love salmon.
I know, it's
Pretty
so
sure
good.
most of you love salmon, I hope. Most of you love
Yeah,
salmon.
totally.
So foods and medicines heal. They're all healing. So think about the things you're cooking, how you're cooking. Experiment with the foods you make. Step outside of your comfort zone. I know because I had really severe vertigo a few years ago, and I was blown away that this one night I was not feeling good. I was with some friends and they ordered East Indian food, and I ate a plate and I was like, whoa, what happened to my vertigo? It's gone, right? And I'm like, I had to think about what was in that dish that I ate, and I had butter.
Probably the turmeric.
Yeah, it was the turmeric and the gingers. I had a few different curries and a couple of things, and I deconstructed it in my mind, and I realized, oh, it was the ginger and turmeric combined that balanced me out. So I now cook with it all the time. I'm always cooking with ginger and turmeric because I want to prevent that from happening. Plus, it makes me feel good. It's really good for my digestion. It's good for the joints. It flushes out any inflammation. I get lower back spasms, so I'll make a tea with that and it calms it right down. Yeah.
So before we close, because we're actually running out of time, which is kind of crazy, hey? So the question, one person asked, spruce pitch, can you pitch it, get it this time of year? Is it
It's
now?
a bit harder because
Yeah.
it's cold, right?
Yeah.
You kind of want to pick it when it's warm or a warm day. Having said that, I bet you all have little tips and tricks to heat things up. Like,
Yeah.
if I really wanted some pitch, some spruce pitch off a tree and it was cold out, I'd probably take one of those hand warmers that you squish and it heats up, and I'd just hold it on to where the pitch is to soften it so you can scrape it out, right? So.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can imagine bringing a hairdryer out in the woods and trying to heat it up. So
So if we were going to do a basic salve, like basically if everyone here wanted to make a Christmas present,
yeah,
and if you could go to your store, superstore or wherever, you could get coconut oil
yep, olive oil.
and olive oil, you could probably do with maybe some
Balsam fir pit.
balsam fir
boughs.
boughs. Lavender might, I mean, I guess some people might have it, but I'm just trying to think of like what could you do if you wanted to make something and you didn't, you know, you had mason jars or you had some of this at home and you wanted to be able to pull it together.
Yeah, probably at this time of year you'd have to try to order, which is why I made
Okay.
sure I gave you those places to
Yeah.
order from.
So you could probably call them today,
And you could get them all within a week. They would
within
show
a
up.
week, and then you could have all your stuff and make it
Mhm.
all.
Yep.
So maybe call them today.
Call them today. Make sure you have some enamel pots.
Yeah, enamel
And
pots.
or a slow cooker that you can, dedicate to
Yeah.
your. Really, they're $35. So I buy mine. I always look for the deals, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
try putting some of this honey in there now that it's softened up.
Okay, so this, for those of you that joined just now, this is equal amounts spruce pitch,
And then
cotton, or coconut oil, so equal amounts of both of those, and then there's some bark in here. And there's a little bit of honey here, and I would say
and
it's
a bit of beeswax.
a bit of beeswax, that's right.
Yeah.
There's a bit of beeswax, which basically helps solidify it, and a bit of honey.
Mhm.
And essentially, we're just gonna let that cool now, right? Or you can
Uh,
actually strain it off and pour
I'm
it.
gonna strain it off and pour it, and I'm just gonna see what I have that I can. I think I'm gonna have to put this is what I'll do is I'll share some of my space here and put my
Cottonwood.
extra cottonwood
Now,
boughs
is there a time when you would pick those cottonwood?
in the spring.
In the spring.
Only in the spring, that's when they fall off the trees.
So those of you that were looking for cottonwood buds, look for them in the spring. So, and I guess what you want to do is dry and save things
Yeah.
for when you want to make them later on.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay. I have one more question here. Do you know much about cannabis oil, CBD, not THC, medical marijuana use?
Yeah,
Yes.
I have actually, I was given a really nice lotion that was made from cannabis and cannabis oil, and it was a lotion, not a salve. And I couldn't believe how effective it was in treating. I get carpal tunnel syndrome sometimes, and I get all kinds of weird aches and pains in my hands, and so I'll just rub it in, and phenomenal how it just absorbs and is very gentle. It's a very gentle healer. And I mean, people tease me all the time. They're like, oh, what do you think about weed? I'm like, I want to be honest that all plants have healing properties. Some of them just have a bad rap, like marijuana. And the reason being with marijuana is that it is an addictive substance to some people. For most people it's not, but it's more of a mental addiction than a physical addiction where people just get used to it but abuse it. And if you're using it it's just got pitch stuff in it, so it doesn't matter because it's going to get all filtered out. I'm going to put this into here. So yeah, I say do your research, and these cannabis dispensaries are the way to go because there's so many concerns with what's going on with fentanyl in the community, and it gets laced into marijuana. Don't buy street grade because it's just
you don't know what you're getting.
You don't know what you're getting, and you have to be very careful. And it's worth it. The dispensaries are doing good things. So I want to show what I just did. I put I took one of these filters, coffee filters, and because they can handle the heat, but they're also kind of thick. And I use the brown ones because they're not bleached, and I put it into the sink strainer.
Or you could
they're
probably
small.
use a tea strainer.
Yeah, you could. These are just great because they're already shaped in a nice little zone, and even if you put it into a bowl, it's fine. But if you want to pour that,
and I'm just pouring it in through slowly.
Yeah, keep going. And then I'll just lift it up after and let it
not burn yourself.
Yeah, it's okay if these get in there, because basically what we're doing, if you want to hold that up and I'll just show this off, you want to put that over there for a second or aim it at the camera to show people what you've done.
Oh yes, I've just poured it off, but there's all this lumpy still in there.
So it's going to very slowly drip, but you're essentially ending up with this beautiful
brown salve.
Yeah, it's not quite a salve yet either.
It will be.
It will be. We could probably still add a bit more beeswax to it, and I'll end up putting those into these containers because it's not going to make very much, to be honest. It'll make a very tiny amount, but it's quite fragrant. Again, I wish you could all smell this. It's
and this was what we could use for
our chest.
For your chest.
Chest
if you're
congestion.
Congestion.
Yeah.
Right. Awesome.
Yeah, and then it's got, here I'll hold this up and kind of show the bark. So this is like some of the bark that was left over from what we made, and so you can see that
there's quite a bit of
there's bark and there's all kinds of things chunked in there, and that's all just part of the tree, which is fine because, to be honest, there's a lot of healing medicine in the bark of all of these coniferous trees, and everybody has different teachings about spruce and fir and pine. We use cedar for weaving because it's a weaving material, but there are people that actually
scheduled to end in 2 minutes.
But there are people that actually make salves out of cedar and cedar boughs and part of the bark. So, again, I'm going to say experiment, go to your elders or anybody in your community that understands the different traditional medicines and what they're for, and just have fun, be brave, and don't hesitate, right? So it's that barky stuff I was telling you about at the end that I will save that in one of my little filters here, and I'll save that and let it harden up and then put it in a Ziploc bag and take it camping with me in the summer. So when I
have a fire starter.
Yeah, if I'm in a place that it's safe to have a fire, I'll just throw that in under the wood. And I don't know about you, but whenever I go somewhere camping or early in the spring, all the wood is wet, and it's nice to have something that just starts that fire but also smells really good, right?
So we're going to close now. So I want to thank you, Cease, for being here once again. It's always a pleasure.
Super fun
have
to
you
be
here. Your
here.
medicines, your knowledge bank is so fantastic, and I feel like the more I spend time with you, the more I'm absorbing it. It's really great. And thanks to all of you on webinar for being with us today, as well as on video conference. We at the UBC Learning Circle, as well as at eHealth, so I'm talking like Miranda and Sue, and Davina, and all of us at the Center for Excellence in Indigenous Health, myself, Leah Walker, our co-directors Nadine Caron and Martin Schechter, as well as all of the rest of the staff here, wish you a really healthy, happy holiday where you take care of yourself and your loved ones. And I wish you could smell how beautiful it is in here right now. It's so nice. So Hajka, for all that you do for yourselves and for your communities, please take care of yourselves. And look forward to seeing you in January. We have a whole slate of really fantastic learning circles. Some of the ones that I'm particularly excited about is we're having a little bit of a leadership series where we will hear from some strong Indigenous women about what it means to be in a leadership role. Nice. And how they do that work. So that will be interesting, and there will be more as well. So hope to see you on our circles.
And I'd like to add that if any of you want to contact me, if you're interested in me coming to your community, I'm happy to organize something to come and do this more firsthand so you can smell the fabulous Salves. Yeah, I'm very big on the traveling medicine show, going from community to community, hanging out and coming to meet people around your area and looking at what grows in your community and how we can help you create your own medicine cabinets, your own little medicine kits, whether it's tinctures and salves and teas or whatever one of those or all of those. So let me know, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was fun and interesting and made sense. I know we had a couple of having to rewind in the way we did it, but please email me if you didn't quite put it all together. And if it was confusing in any way, please email me. Hajka. We'll see you.
Hajka. Hajka, thank you for your lovely presence.
Thank you, all of you.
Thank you, everyone.